Kamaru Usman just talked about a potential Ilia Topuria matchup. That's right, just a few weeks away from UFC 322, where Islam Makhachev takes on Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title. There's a storm of speculation about what comes next. One of the biggest names being thrown around is Ilia Topuria, who's openly talked about moving up to chase double champ status. But here's an angle most people haven't considered. What happens if Topuria and his former sparring partner Kamaru Usman end up sitting at the top of the same division? That scenario isn't too far-fetched. Topuria's rise has been meteoric, and if he does move up and capture the belt, Kamaru, who's still hungry and determined to reclaim championship gold, would be right there in the mix. And that's exactly what Kamaru discussed on his recent episode of the Pound for Pound podcast. The former welterweight king opened up about the situation, discussing the likelihood of the fight taking place. He said his next opponent will likely be either JDM or Islam, but admitted he's not certain if he'll face the winner, hinting that he might end up fighting the loser instead.
The thing is, I don't think Ilia is trying to stay here. If he does come up, he's chasing a fight. He's not chasing the divisions, he's chasing a fight. And if Islam happens to be that champion, then Ilia can potentially move up. But Ilia is trying to find him anyways. Islam could be anywhere. Hiding, not hiding, fighting, winning. Ilia gonna show up. And that's the guy that he wants. But even if he does win the belt, knock on wood, I know this is crazy, I don't think he's staying at welterweights. Who do you think? Why would he want to stay there and try to run through these big, huge guys?
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's a one-off. So it would be a one-off. And the other question is, would the UFC want that? They don't like it when fighters come in and just take off.
Khamzat Chimaev is dominating headlines again today. On a recent episode of the Jackson podcast, Rampage, TJ Dillashaw and Bobby Green didn't hold back, going off on Chimaev's boring fight style. Even though Khamzat has trained with them before and helped promote their platform, TJ took a moment to explain why Chimaev can seemingly get away with an underwhelming performance in the cage. But before we roll the clip, it's worth noting he's been facing more heat recently. Alex Pereira's coach, Glover Teixeira, also chimed in, criticizing Chimaev for his sparring habits. He highlighted how Chimaev can be ruthless in training, often going extremely hard on lower level fighters, showing a level of dominance that some feel crosses a line. The newly crowned champion is expected to defend his middleweight belt in the spring of 2026 against #1 contender in Nasruddin Imavov. Interestingly, Khamzat has also had intense sparring sessions with Imavov, who himself confirmed that Chimaev goes extremely hard in training. Alright, let's dive into the footage.
I'm in the same boat. I see the dominance and I appreciate the dominance and how good he is at something. But then there's a fine line of like, look, we're watching a sport because of the entertainment, because of the knockouts. And that's why I fought the way that I fought, right? Like I could have wrestled and I could have held him down, but no, I wanted to kick his head off. I wanted to see a highlight.
Yes.
I wanted to see a highlight.
That choice.
Yeah. I want to see a highlight for the rest of my life of me knocking someone out.
Choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, but I think that the culture in the UFC now, and especially when people are fighting for belts, they just want to fight safe.
They just want to win. They just want to win.
They're big stars where they're from, though. You gotta understand this. They're
huge.
They got the whole country behind them.
That's my point, is that like here in the United States, me as a fighter, if I'm going to be a guy's laying and praying and winning fights that way, I'm not going to be very popular. I'm not going to make a bunch of money outside the cage. They don't have that problem. They get a whole country behind him. He, you know, like everyone over in Russia, they get supported like they're royalty over there no matter how they win. We have to win impressively.
Khamzat Chimaev keeps proving he doesn't shy away from testing himself against bigger guys, and his latest sparring revelation is no different, this time going up against fellow Russian UFC heavyweight Alexander Volkov, fresh off a win over Jailton Almeida at UFC 321, a fight where Volkov spent a lot of the fight on his back, defending against Almeida's wrestling. In a recent Oshataika appearance, Volkov's sparring partner for that fight, undefeated Russian prospect Roman Lukashevich, spilled the details on how intense those sessions have been, while also revealing what training looked like when Chimaev and Volkov worked together. And this isn't the first time Khamzat's sparring has made headlines. He's notorious for going full throttle in training. Sean Strickland even told him to take it easy during his stint at Extreme Couture, which is pretty ironic considering Strickland himself has a reputation for beating up on influencers and guys with zero pro fighting experience. Sean has promised the MMA fans to do whatever it takes to get that title shot, as he believes he is the only one who can dethrone the undefeated Chechen champion.
тот факт, что Александр тяж, Чимаев средний вес.
Considering the fact that Alexander is heavyweight and Chimaev is a middleweight, it's really interesting to hear how their sparring went.
Khamzat точно лучше делает тейкдаун.
Khamzat's takedown game is overall stronger, but it's insanely difficult to catch Alexander in a submission. He is strong, physically big, and knows how to grapple. In his fight against Almeida, we could clearly see how hard it is to submit him. Alexander is extremely experienced. Personally, I also find it very tough to stand and strike with him. His striking is truly at an elite level.
Сами понимаете, на высшем уровне.
Ну, а если представить бой Чимаева и Алмейда,
If we imagine Chimaev fighting Almeida at 205 maybe, how do you see that matchup going after seeing all this training stuff? Almeida isn't a big guy, while Chimaev on the other hand is a huge middleweight.
See, I usually don't like to talk about stuff like this since it's all fantasy. What I can say is that, technically speaking, Khamzat has better overall MMA wrestling than Almeida in most of the heavyweights. MMA fans are buzzing as the UFC 321 eye poke controversy continues to make waves, and it looks like real changes could be on the horizon. Veteran referee Herb Dean, one of the officials most likely involved in shaping any new rules, spoke to Helen Yee Sports about the situation and was confident something will be done. Herb said, quote, "Enough people are fed up with the eye poke situation that something is going to be done. We have to try something. People have been talking already. There's going to be a meeting where we go over it. But yeah, definitely something's going to happen." Herb confirmed a meeting set for November 4th to discuss potential rule amendments. He added that while there may have been hesitancy to make big changes in the past, this time the momentum is different. On top of that, UFC lightweight Dan Hooker chimed in and gave his take regarding this Aspinall eye poke situation. Hooker, who is known for his resilience and iron will, admitted that he would stop fighting too if he were in Aspinall's shoes. Let's dive in.
Am I Tom Aspinall? Because I'm leaving.
You're Dan Hooker, bro. You're Dan Hooker.
Yeah, but I tell myself I always do smart stuff and then I don't do it. But nah, that was bad, bro. When I seen the video and I was like, I saw the two. I was looking at this finger and it's like barely touching it. I was going, bro, that's not that bad. Then you look across at the other finger and you're going, holy wreck, he's trying to dig his brain stem out.
Yeah, sure. It wasn't the first one. But back to the question, bro. Does Dan Hooker stop or does Dan Hooker keep going? I'm thinking I know the answer.
Nah. We're stopping.
Yeah.
We've had enough of it.
In theory, you're stopping. In practice,
in theory,
you're stopping.
In theory. In theory, it always sounds good.
That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.